If you don't like your life or some aspect of it, why don't you change it? Like, why don't people change their life? Why do people do something that they clearly hate doing and then decide, well, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life? To me, that does not make sense.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Chantel, and I'm excited because today we're going to talk about something that's really critical to you if you're an entrepreneur, if you're thinking about entrepreneurship, and that is fighting for your business. Sometimes we give up way too soon before we even get the increase that God has promised us. We give up and throw in the towel. And so Myron Golden, he gives a great commentary on it. And I'm going to share with you some of his best strategies to get you through the valley experiences that you may be having right now or will have when it comes to entrepreneurship. Listen in.
So my friend got me a job, and my friend was way bigger than me. He was probably 225 pounds then, and 6'2", and strong as an ox. And he got a job here, so he said, I'm going to see if I can get Myron a job here, because he was like literally my best friend. And so he got me a job pulling sorghum on a sorghum farm in Lowell, Indiana in July. I literally thought I was going to, 5 minutes in, I knew it was a bad idea. This is not good. This is not good. You are not going to live through this day, bro. Like, it's hot. There's like eternal sorghum in this field. You're never going to pull it all. And I pulled sorghum for 8 hours. And I prayed and prayed and prayed, dear God, just let me live through this day. And I promise I will not tempt you by coming back here tomorrow. And I went to the boss when I got back to the barn, and I said, thank you for this job. I really appreciate it. But I want you to know, even if you have to keep my money, I will not be back here tomorrow. Now, some people would say, that's crazy, but you needed a job. You didn't have any money. You probably didn't have much food in your refrigerator. Your car was broken down. Why would you quit the only job you had? Because I knew it was not what I was meant to do. God did not put me on this earth to be a farmer, and I didn't want to waste another day pulling sorghum. And I could have just said, well, this is the only job I can find. I could have said, $8 an hour in 1980 is good money. I could have said, all I got to do is show up and walk down these aisles and pull the sorghum and lay it on the ground. But when something isn't working, sometimes quitting is the best option. And I know. People say quitters never win and winners never quit. That's what I call a truism that isn't true. The reality is all winners quit. That's why they're winners. They quit doing stuff that don't add to their winning. They quit doing stuff that doesn't make them more of a winner. And I am here to tell you, unless you start figuring out what in your life doesn't fit in your purpose and let go of some of it, you are going to be miserable your whole life, and you don't have to be. The part that's missing in your life getting better is not God's part. If God's already done his part, if you do your part, your life's going to get better. He made you for your life to get better. The very first thing he ever said to man was, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, and have dominion. That means human beings, God commanded them when he talked to them the first time, which means this is one of the most important things he's ever going to say to a human being. The first thing he said was, your life is supposed to be progressively productive. Your life is supposed to be producing more tomorrow than it did yesterday, next week than it did last week, next month than it did last month. Our lives, we were created to be becoming better. Why? Because we are made of flesh and blood, and our spirit lives in this flesh suit. And the flesh and blood part of us is not perfect. It's not that it's not perfect, it's not infinite in its ability, which means it always has potential to grow. Spirit is complete.
I just want to settle down on that point. I think that stops a lot of would-be entrepreneurs from really going out, being more, saying more, doing more, because the idea of getting just a little bit more uncomfortable in the unknown, it scares us. But as he said, God created us to have more, to be more than what we were yesterday. But the only way we can access that more that we're created for is to launch out, is to be willing to go into the deep, because even though we may not know how to swim, we know the God who created the seas. And so when you understand who you're partnering with, the fear of the unknown becomes less confusing. It becomes less intimidating. It becomes less of an excuse. Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. And instead of taking on those excuses, you take on the posture that even though I don't know what is next, I'm willing to step out on faith because I know the person who sent me there. That is faith.
The spirit part of you is the big part of you. The flesh part of you is the little part of you. The spirit part of you is the capable part of you. It's the part with all the potential. It's the part that has not potential, capacity, maximum capacity, which means that the physical part of you will never max out the spiritual part of you. Like there's always growth to be had regardless of how much you've already grown. And so I used to be a part of a financial services company when I first got started in financial services back in 1985. And Art Williams was the guy who started this company, A.L. Williams. And one of the things he used to say, he said, life will give you what you'll fight for, life will give you what you'll accept. And I'm thinking, what is he talking about? Is it going to give you what you fight for, or is it going to give you what you accept? And the answer is yes. It's going to give you what you fight for, or it's going to give you what you accept. And see, if you're unwilling to fight for it, that means you're willing to accept it. And if you're unwilling to accept it, that means you're willing to fight for it. This boy at 6 years old decided with his new awareness, if the person who owns me and treats me like an animal and could sell me away from my mother or my mother away from me, if he's that dead set against me learning how to read, it is absolutely the most important thing I must learn how to do. And Frederick Douglass worked in the big house. And he would take the leftovers from the big house and he would give them to the poor white children in the neighborhood in exchange for them teaching him how to decipher letters. And every time he found a piece of paper on the ground or a book or a piece of a newspaper, he would take it back to his room at night and by candlelight in his slave quarters, practice his reading. The man became such an articulate orator and author. When I read his autobiography when I was in my 20s, I had to look up words that I didn't know what they meant. This is a person who had a hopeless life and a life that there was nobody coming for him. There's nobody coming to rescue him. And yet he said, this is not what I was made for. Like, I get it. Your circumstances are not ideal. My circumstances were not ideal. I get that. But that's not the end of the story. That's just the part of the story. Do you realize that if you didn't have haters, you couldn't have elevators, and you couldn't have celebrators? Think about it. The reason we call it a championship is because you have a formidable foe. The reason we call it a championship is because you have somebody opposing you and opposing your objectives that's equally or more equipped than you are. They're equally equipped to stop you from achieving that objective. Do you realize if Jesus didn't have haters, he would have never been crucified? The pit and Potiphar's house and the prison are the things that prepared Joseph to become the prime minister. And see, we want to get to the top without the crawling through the glass at the bottom. But the difficulty at the bottom is the thing that makes us strong enough to stay there when we get there to the top. And some of us, we're lamenting our lamentations and we're cursing our curses and we're so cursing our curses and we're so burdened by our burdens that what we don't do is we don't gain strength from them and realize, hey, I've got to make my life better. This is the catalyst.
I can attest to that. I've been in entrepreneurship for the past 15 years, and it is a journey. But I always speak, ever since I gave my life to Christ, I know the difference between grace versus grind. And some of us quit before we get to the promise because it's difficult. But one thing's for certain is that you will always reach your destination, either the destination of success or failure. But one thing's for sure, you will reach. And if you quit, it's guaranteed that your destination will be failure. And so we have to assign our lives to say, I am going to win and I'm going to fight for this no matter what.
The fuel, this is the inspiration, this is the motivation. This is the thing that's letting me know I can't stay here for the rest of my life. So why don't people change it? Like Frederick Douglass changed. He didn't go from being a slave to being free. He went from being a slave, he bought his freedom, had it stolen from him, bought it again, had it stolen from him, bought it again. He had to buy his freedom 3 times. He became an emancipator. He went around giving speeches and was instrumental in ending antebellum slavery in the United States of America. He gained an audience with the Queen of England and the President of the United States. This is a kid who was born a slave. And then we think we have an excuse. Well, maybe we don't have an excuse, but the actual reason is we don't take reading as seriously as Frederick Douglass did. Because maybe the very same reading dynamic that gave Frederick Douglass the awareness to make a decision and set an intention to change his life, maybe he found it in the pages of something he read.
So to Myron's point, one of the biggest things that you can do to bring yourself to another level of awareness, also one of the cheapest ways that you can invest in yourself is buying books. Buy books from your favorite mentors. Buy books from people that you wish could coach you. And I guarantee you, the same information that they teach in their $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 coaching programs, you're going to find that in their books. Myron says the same thing. The same information that he teaches to his $300,000 mastermind participants is the same principles that he teaches in his $20 book called Boss Moves. And so if you want to be ahead of the game and want to gain the knowledge that these individuals have, read their books. I've been a publisher for the past 10 years, and I have written books from experts who put all of their knowledge into this 200-page book that will allow individuals to get the same wisdom that they've gained. So if book reading is not your thing, make it a part of your thing so that you can get to where you want to be.
The book you don't read can't help you. If you read it, it might not help you. But if you don't read it, it ain't gonna help you. And so why is it that some people, their lives change? Because some people care enough to change their lives. Some people are like, okay, life, put up your dukes. I got to wrestle it from you. Let's wrestle. What we got to put on a boxing glove. Let's put on the gloves. Like whatever we've got to do, it's worth it. Like when I look in the faces of my children, I could not look at them and tell them you can do anything you want to do and you can be anything you want to be while they watch me do nothing and be nothing. That's not going to be how this story plays out. I'm going to demonstrate to them that the words that come out of my mouth are not do what I do, not as I say, do what I do, but even more so do what I say, but even more so do what I do. Like the Apostle Paul said, the things that you've both heard and seen in me do. Oh, Paul set the example. So Frederick Douglass changed. Like Oprah Winfrey, they said she was unfit for television. But now she owns her own network. Why? Because she was unwilling to accept that, so she was willing to fight for it. So, why don't people change their lives? That's the question. Why don't they? Why haven't I changed my life more? Why haven't you changed your life more? Why haven't we changed our lives more? Well, I think one reason people don't change their lives is because they don't think they can. They bought into the lie of the identity. What's the lie of the identity? All of us have had people in our lives at some point in our lives in the past tell us that we are not enough, something enough. Not tall enough, not short enough, not pretty enough, don't sing good enough, don't dance good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough, not coordinated enough. You are not enough. We've all heard it. If you buy that lie, it'll cost you too much.
Yeah, we've got to stop comparing ourselves to other people. Folks who don't have our story, don't have our DNA, they're not us. And so you may be stuck at a place where your business, your life is dying on the hill of comparison. God created your journey just for you. God created your story, your valley, your experiences, because there is a unique sound that you're made to create in the earth. And the trick of the enemy is to try to make you think that because somebody else is doing very well, or maybe they speak on the same topics as you, or maybe they're prettier than you, whatever you may think, the enemy wants you to believe that there's no space for you. But God has said that it's time for you to take up space in this world with your voice, with the imperfections, with the flaws. You are absolutely created for more than you've been setting yourself up for. And I hope that ends today.
So if you buy into the identity, it could literally cost you everything. Okay, cool. So you've got people think they can't change their lives. That's one reason they don't change. Number two, they don't know how. And I get it, because I always believed I could change my life. I can't think of a time. I could think of a time when I was so discouraged that I felt like it wasn't working. And that was after it had already worked, right? That was after it had already worked. But I can't think of a time when I believed, like I've ever believed, my life is not going to get better. I've always believed it. But for a long time, I believed it and I didn't know how to do it. So guess what? My belief in the fact that I could do it caused me to keep looking for answers to how to do it. See, if you don't believe you can do it, you don't have a reason to look. So people who don't believe they can do it are not going to look for the answers to how they can do it, so they never change their lives. They just keep on living Groundhog Day. Every day is just like yesterday, and the day before, and the day before, and the day before, and they put their days on rinse and repeat until they die. So most people really never live, they just exist their way through life. And people say, what do you do for a living? That's a really lame question. What do you do for a living? Let me ask you a more valuable question, if I may. What do you do while you're living? What do you do while you're living? Because most people do something for a living and do nothing while they're living. But I believe that the quality of a person's life is not measured by the number of years of experience a person has doing a thing, but by the number of experiences we put in those years. How many experiences? Like I want to max out all of my experiences of all my days every day. If I could give you a gift, and I can't, but if I could, I would give you the gift to believe in your ability to change your life. Because I know you can. And I don't know you can based on theory, based on a book that I read that was written by a guru. I know you can because I've seen it happen over and over in my own life and in the lives of other people that I've served and served with. And I'm telling you, your life can get better. Don't stop believing. Don't stop growing. Don't stop reading. Life will give you what you'll accept, or life will give you what you'll fight for.
I love that. Do not accept what you can accept. Always fight for more. Because there's a scripture in the Bible, and I want you to write this down as we close. Isaiah 43, verse 19, and it says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it will spring up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." This is the New International Version, so yours may sound a little different. But what I want you to take away from this is that God is always up to something, and his something is always going to work together for your good. So even though you may be in an experience right now that is not ideal, God wants you to know that he is reshaping and reforming you so that you can be prepared for all that he has in store for you. That's real. And so because of that, understand that you are only responsible for doing your part. Don't try to interfere in God's business. Just do your part. And if you would only do your part, and if you would only be patient, you will see things turn around for your good. I have enjoyed our time today. I'm so excited. Listen, y'all are going to be seeing more videos like this from me, inspired by Myron, giving my feedback on some of the things that he says that I think can really benefit you as you grow into your business. And if you are someone who wants to create more content that is compelling, that connects with your audience and really positions you as a thought leader, I invite you to click the link in my description where you will get access to my free content creation camp on Saturday at 5 p.m. at the time of this video, where you'll be able to join me live for a deep dive on content creation so that you can show up in all your brilliance, even if you're afraid, even if you don't know what to say, you've got so many ideas or none at all, but you know you should be online more. Join me on Saturday. I can't wait to see you then and in the next video. Take care.